Okay, so even the context, the environment matters, family, right? So moving right along, so though that's what ACEs are. Now, why are they so problematic? Is because this distress, that emotional pain, it can persist for years. And I tell you, you've gotten a lot of background. If you've been listening to the conference all day, you have a lot of background on how this operates, right? But thank God for the redemptive work of Christ, right? But that pain, see, the enemy wants that pain to last long term. He wants us to be prisoner to those experiences and letting that shape our future. But not only that, it's the nature of the adversity. It's the frequency and seriousness of the traumatic event. Also, if there is prior trauma in the family or prior trauma for the child, and also too, how many supports and wraparounds do we have around that child to help promote resiliency in the face of adversity? Okay, so that's why this is so problematic. But now let's just talk. So as we know before, and we've been talking about this all day, that essentially the enemy is coming against our minds. And that is the battleground. That's where he's trying to gain traction in even the people of God, right? And so moving right along, interestingly so, we see that most people have experienced at least one ACE. At least 62% of adults, when they surveyed across the United States, experienced at least one ACE during childhood. So these ACEs are quite prevalent. And a quarter of people said that they had experienced 3 or more ACEs. Okay, and what does that mean when it comes to health and well-being of children? So it's so problematic because it depresses the immune functioning of the child, and we see negative effects on health, well-being, as well as opportunity. It can disrupt healthy brain development. It can affect social development. It can even improve. It can compromise the immune functioning. So this is what happens. And I just want to share this to show you how this toxic stress and how this adversity derails development. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share this video here. This is from the Harvard Center on the Developing Child.
Learning to deal with stress is an important part of healthy development. When experiencing stress, the stress response system is activated. The body and brain go on alert. There's an adrenaline rush, increased heart rate, and an increase in stress hormone levels. When the stress is relieved after a short time, or a young child receives support from caring adults, the stress response winds down and the body quickly returns to normal. In severe situations, such as ongoing abuse and neglect, where there is no caring adult to act as a buffer against the stress response stays activated. Even when there is no apparent physical harm, the extended absence of response from adults can activate the stress response system. Constant activation of the stress response overloads developing systems, with serious lifelong consequences for the child. This is known as toxic stress. Over time, this results in a stress response system set permanently on high alert. In the areas of the brain dedicated to learning and reasoning, the neural connections that comprise brain architecture are weaker and fewer in number. Science shows that the prolonged activation of stress hormones in early childhood can actually reduce neural connections in these important areas of the brain at just the time when they should be growing new ones. Toxic stress can be avoided if we ensure that the environments in which children grow and develop are nurturing, stable, and engaging.
Come on back in. So there we go. Now you have an understanding of how it derails development. And interestingly so, that adversity, it affects the learning centers of the brain. And not only does it impact the the centers of the brain that are in control of learning, but it also impacts the centers of the brain that control our reward system. And what that means is that it actually causes, or could potentially cause them to engage in more risk-taking behaviors to kind of cope with the pain, because they're in the parts of the brain that control impulse control have been negatively altered due to that trauma. And so that's just exactly what the enemy wants. And here's the thing is, some of their experiences, even adults can wrap their minds around. But these are little kiddos who are trying to cope with this trauma, all right? And so we see that it can disrupt healthy brain development, affect social development, compromise immune systems, lead to substance misuse and other unhealthy coping behaviors, also increase risk of injury, STIs, HIV, mental health problems, maternal and child health problems, teen pregnancy, involvement in sex trafficking. Yes, it's very hard for those kiddos to deal with a wide range of chronic diseases. So this is what was really surprising to me when I first found this out, was the fact that it can impact and make them more susceptible to chronic diseases, leading to causes of death such as cancer, diabetes, heart disease, as well as suicide. And I was like, wow, childhood trauma can make you more susceptible to diabetes, can make you more susceptible to cancer. My God, we have to address this. We definitely have to address this. So moving a little bit more deeply into that, this is just highlighting those areas that can be impacted, as I said before. Now, I want to talk about the mechanism by which this happens, okay? Now, so here in this next slide, you'll see a pyramid. Oh, well, maybe not. I think I may have added that later on. But there is an embodiment, a historical embodiment, right, that could potentially lead to, a child experiencing an ACE based on contextual factors, which could also lead to, the actual ACE being experienced. And that derails their neural development. And so they may be compromised in their social engagement, their cognitive engagement, their emotional abilities, and that can lead to a higher likelihood of engagement in risk-taking behaviors. And over time, that can impact their entire lifespan. And what we see is that when people have experienced, I believe, 3 or more ACEs, it could potentially cut off 20 years of their life. This is a matter of life and death. And when the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, these are his methods. These are his methods. And so we want to understand, what are his goals? Like, why is he attacking marriage? Like, what is his whole diabolical scheme behind this? And really is to remove the protection from the home. When I tell you there's an attack on men like never before, there's an attack on God's expression of manhood in the earth, there's an attack on masculinity here in the earth, is because they want to remove that protection in the home.